The impending SOLAS container weighing rule has kicked up quite a fuss amongst the maritime industry in 2016. Questions have been asked and answered, yet this has led to more follow-on questions, as this is a complex and nuanced topic with many opinions and little hard fact. In order to clear the fog surrounding the issue and get some clear, definitive answers, I've been speaking to Managing Director of Strainstall, Simon Everett, for a second time. Hi Simon, thanks for joining us. Firstly, I've got to ask, is this rule gonna happen?
Well, it's interesting you should say that. I was at the ICHCA conference in Barcelona recently, and this very question came up. There is some ambiguity in the press right now, but the Deputy Director General of IMO stood up and was very, very clear that there was a consultation period which ended on the 1st of January this year. And now that has ended, this ruling is now logged with the UN, and therefore there is no going back. He was very, very clear, this will happen come 1st of July, and we as an industry, we have to get used to it, and we have to do what we need to do to get ready to comply.
Okay, but recent reports from the US have stated that this is just a reworking of a current regulation. Is that the actual case?
Well, it is true that there has for some time been a requirement to provide a weight for the container. However, that ruling requests that the weight is of the weight of the goods inside the container. The difference here with this regulation is that it's very, very clear whose responsibility it is to provide that weight, and it's very clear that you must weigh the container and you must provide the weight of the container with all the dunnage, packing, etc., and the goods. It's not just a provision of the goods themselves. And that's really the difference. And it does make it very clear now that there is a responsibility to do this, and it is enshrined in the regulations, and it is a legal requirement because of it. So that's the key difference.
The IMO regulation stipulates that each country is free to decide how it will actually implement the rule, but has there been any unified discussions of how IMO states might practice the rule together?
Well, again, there's lots going on around the industry related to this. We've been party to the working party in the UK on this, which is being led by the MCA. From that, we know that there are some discussions going on, particularly around Europe, to try and have a more unified approach to the rules. But of course, it is down to each nation state to set their own requirements. And therefore, it still remains to be seen with the competent authorities in each nation state as to what they're going to come out with. And therefore, we're hoping for some unification. I think the whole industry wants that, but we need to wait and see as to what's going to come out.
What would happen if a container is not weighed in one country, but then it's, say, transshipped to a country with very stringent regulations?
In that circumstance, if a VGM has been obtained in a IMO state under the rules of that competent authority, then that VGM is valid. And therefore, if it is then transshipped to another nation state, that original VGM is still valid. There is no need to obtain a new VGM underneath the different competent authorities' regulations. So provided a box has a VGM, that's valid. If a box is turning up to a port that needs to transship it without a VGM, the requirement is clear: before it is transshipped, it must have a VGM obtained.
Thanks for your time today, Simon, and part 2 of this interview will be available on the PTI website shortly. Thanks for watching.